start. Thank you for being on my show, my podcast. This is
Oh,
going to be
my pleasure.
fun. I'm very excited. Question number one.
Dun, dun, dun.
Da-da-da-da-da. Are you tired of being called that Hawaiian baritone?
Never.
No. Okay.
Well, because I mean, you can. I mean, off the top of my head, you can count all the working Pacific Islanders, all the working Pacific Island classical slash opera singers
Mm.
on two hands.
No.
And to my knowledge, there's one other Hawaiian opera singer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hawaiian. One other Hawaiian. There are a bunch of. And the crazy thing is, all the rest of them have come out of New Zealand in one way or another.
Right.
They're either native New Zealand Maori, or they're Samoan who grew up in New Zealand, because to my knowledge there's no classical music and opera have no foothold in Samoa or American Samoa
Mm-hmm.
or Tonga or Tahiti. So it's basically just Hawaii and New Zealand. And I guess it's the connections that New Zealand has with Britain. And I'm sure my colleagues from New Zealand would correct me better, but that I've noticed that a bunch of the singers from New Zealand, the majority of them got to London or the UK in some way, shape, or form, and then the other ones, made it to the US or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them kind of their vehicle was through the UK, the Royal School of Music, something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a decent group of them from New Zealand, but the actual working ones that I mean, I know all of them.
Right. Okay.
But then, as I say, there's only one other. I'm pretty sure there's only one other Hawaiian opera singer. He's a friend of mine. He's a year older than me. He's a baritone, who established himself in the last 5-6 years in Central Europe, Switzerland, Austria. Well, in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. And so I won't get tired of it, because it's also that the title comes with a responsibility,
Mm.
to being an ambassador for this art form in the Pacific and in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I have to understand the obligation to take up that responsibility. And so that's why I do it. And that's why no, it's I'm not tired of it.
Okay.
Well, because it's exotic too, right?
Yeah, true.
And so I'm still happy to ride that wave, no pun intended.
Nope. And it distinguishes you from everyone else.
Truly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, speaking of Pacific Islander, do you consider yourself a person of color?
By my heritage, yes. I mean, in a way, I've been really disconnected from Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
because I get to go out there on average once a year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's normally just to go visit family and friends and to be home, and then once in a while, when the opera company in Hawaii has been able to find a date that works for us to collaborate on a project, then I get to go home for work. But that's, you know, it's been hard because my schedule does get really full. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel that's a really good question
Mhm.
because for me, I don't really know. As I say, because of this disconnection I felt that I've had, and I'll never be totally disconnected, but just in terms of keeping up with present day issues, and more importantly, how Pacific Islanders and Hawaiians specifically feel about whether or not they're considered people of color. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, and I would, I feel like I would gauge how much I feel that I am or not, um, on how Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders in the Pacific
Mhm.
feel. It's my heritage, you know. We can trace my family lineage back to the very beginning.
Wow.
Um, uh, you know, two main gods in Hawaiian religion. Well, not really religion, but Hawaiian culture.
Mhm.
The Earth Mother and the Sky Father, and the Earth Mother was Papa, and Wakea was the Sky Father, and my mother's maiden name is Papa.
Mm.
So technically, that you just trace it all the way back to that,
Mhm.
and you know, I'm very proud of that. I tried to delve into my culture and into my language in college, um, and I will always call myself, you know, Pacific Islander and Hawaiian. You know, like how we're dealing with the census right now.
Mhm.
But simply for me, I guess I would say I do, just because of my heritage and where I come from. But I would also, I guess I would also want to weigh in on what other Hawaiians think,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because and I'm not trying to make excuses for myself, but I just feel like I am very detached in a way.
Mhm.
You know, like maybe I would have a better answer. Like I would feel more confident with a better answer if I was more a part of things there. You know, like if I lived there a portion out of the year,
Mhm.
you know, that I would feel a lot more confident in language.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, because language is such a huge part of one's culture and identity.
Mhm.
And no, that's a good question. I'd really have to think about that.
Okay. Well, I know with the question, I know you mentioned home, but would you consider yourself a person of color here on the mainland?
I'd have to think about that
Okay. Fair enough.
because I know I would understand that for people to look at me, they would be like, he's white,
Mhm.
he's very fair skinned, so how can he be? And then maybe people would, you know, if I were to say yes, I do consider myself a person of color,
Mhm.
and once they realized that I had background in Hawaii and you know, the blood quantum, that
Mhm.
maybe they would understand. But you know, I know that if people took a glance at me, that they would be like, no. So,
Mhm.
but I mean, that's interesting because I never, you know, I never would have ever expected to be put in a position to ask to think about that.
Right, right, right. Fair enough, fair enough. I see you. I personally see you as a person of color. That's me.
And I understand that,
Yeah,
and you know,
yeah.
and that's very valid. You know, just
I guess
because
because I do know your background. I mean, because I do know you.
of course, of
That's
course. And so in that respect, you know, if someone didn't know me and then I said, oh well, but I'm part Hawaiian, then
right,
you
right.
know, then they'll be like, oh, okay.
Okay, gotcha. Well, going on that, how do you feel about the issue of diversity in the opera that's currently in focus right now?
Wow, this is a big one, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't deny that that you know we've all either, well, not all of us, but you know that there are a ton of colleagues out there who have experienced discrimination um, in the workplace
Mhm.
because of the color of their skin,
Yeah.
and you know, you understand that tons of working artists have kept quiet about it because they've been taught that you know, don't you dare bring it up because you don't know what you're doing, and you know, and it's it's a crazy time like this where all of our work is gone,
Mhm.
where I mean it, I mean, not even about the performing arts, but just in the world in general, that a crisis like this has in every way shown us all who we really are,
Mhm. Mhm.
and shown all of our weaknesses and our flaws.
Mhm.
I mean, if this isn't, if we aren't being handed a wonderful opportunity to step out of ourselves and look at ourselves, I don't know what is. And the only problem is that there are a ton of people who don't think that there's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and that's, I think that's the one thing that drives me nuts the most. That look, nobody expects you to be perfect,
Right.
you know, especially in a time like this. But come on.
Mhm. Yeah.
One of the uh, I have terrible road rage, and I I can be really terribly opinionated when I witness people making what I consider to be, you know, less than intelligent choices in public.
Right.
And I love my mother, but I got it from her. Oh boy, she would get in these screaming matches on the road,
Right. Right.
and one of the and one of the first things is that you learn that, you know, you learn to do the same thing, and oh, thanks, mom.
I'm
But
from New York. I understand.
yeah, but I want to ask people why. You know what you're doing.
Hmm.
I know what you're doing. What are you doing?
Right. Right.
You know, this is this is your chance to come clean, and we all have to do it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And here is our opportunity. We've made such a mess of ourselves, such a mess of our world,
Hmm.
and it's when we've had everything stripped away from us, all all the soft underbelly has been exposed, and it's happened to all of us. We're all experiencing the same thing, and I just don't understand the people who, I mean, I guess I do understand, but it's sad. The people who just flip over and become defensive as hell.
Yeah.
and so in regards to diversity in the performing arts, okay, here it is. We
Yeah,
all know it's been happening.
right.
Everybody admits it's been happening. How can you say, oh, I don't see it, or no, I don't agree with that?
Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of it's upturning the apple cart, really.
Oh, oh
And
no, the apple cart is busted.
true, but for those who are not recognizing it, it's upturning their apple cart, and they don't want the apple cart
Oh
upturned.
no,
But
no, no,
everything to
no.
stay as it is, and it's easier that way for it to stay that way.
Well, okay, but just because it's easier, is that right?
I agree with you. I agree with you
I mean,
100%.
I mean, this is the thing about a person's life. You know, it's like they say, if if it was easy, it wouldn't be real life.
And some people are resistant to change. It's plain and simple.
But this is not brand new. This is change. Change has happened as far back as Homo sapiens have been
Oh,
alive.
absolutely, absolutely, and they're holding on with their bare teeth.
Uh,
They're holding on with
history hasn't taught you anything.
obviously not. I mean, I'm being devil's advocate. I agree with you 100%.
Oh no, I
You
know.
have those that they just refuse to see. They don't want to see it. It's too painful to see.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
painful,
it's painful to
but
see.
this is how we make things better.
Absolutely,
Because we react to the pain and then we grow from it. We
absolutely,
learn from it.
absolutely.
I mean, I would love for a ton of people who happen to be very fair skinned
Mhm.
to I forget who wrote the story, but I want to say that it's like a Ray Bradbury kind of thing because my father told me this,
Mhm.
and it was so perfect. Um, the world, the planet is dying, and the technology to travel to another planet and start over is is owned by a bunch of black people. And so they got the key like this, and they're going,
Right.
hey, you guys want to come? but but they say, okay, but we're gonna have some rules.
Mm, mm,
And everything is just flipped.
right.
and
Right.
and they go to this other planet,
Hmm.
and black people own everything, and black people are in power, and everything is, all the trends and all everything that's popular is stuff that black people like. And hmm imagine that. Oh no, but we can't do that. It's not ever going to be that way. Well, of course not. But how do you think that they feel?
Right.
And I'm sorry. I mean, I don't have to tell you any of this,
Right.
but I just come on. It's almost 2021.
It's gonna be a minute. It's gonna have to take
Well,
a few generations to I think wean all that away.
well, of course. I mean, there's we have been revealed to have made a mess,
Hmm.
and sensible people are just shaking their heads because it's all right there.
Right.
You
Right.
know, all the racism and all the inequality. I mean, and I love that all the people at fault continue to do it or do it more now.
Hmm.
And you're going, you realize that we all have cameras on our phones now, right? You
Well,
realize that.
I personally do believe that the movement itself has gained momentum because of COVID-19. People were forced, everyone was home, everyone's on the internet. You have no place to go, run to, and you were forced to watch that incident over and over and over again. And there's no denying. There's no
Oh,
denying
yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if it wasn't for COVID-19, it would be just another statistic.
that's true.
So,
I, in so many ways, I feel like this is a blessing.
look, we're going to get to COVID-19 in a second, but yeah, it can be, it's,
Just just a
of course,
situation like
it's a
this.
tragedy in it within itself. It's a tragedy, tragedy, tragedy. But those who have been lucky enough to been home, quarantined, um, it gave everybody a chance to be still.
You really did.
Everybody a chance to be still and do some thinking, I guess.
A lot, I hope.
Right, a lot of thinking. But let's segue into COVID-19.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Let's talk about that. All right. So, we've been living with this virus and its ramifications for almost 6 months now.
Oof.
If you could go back in time, knowing that it's coming, what would you do differently that you didn't do the first time around?
Maybe I would have put my money away.
Mhm.
The weird thing for me is that, um, I lost work like everybody else, but I wasn't in the middle of a job when everything got canceled. So
Right,
I wasn't like a bunch of us who went through their whole rehearsal process,
right.
and then the check is like right there, and it just goes,
Ouch.
oh.
Right, right, right.
I was in LA for Roberta Deborah, and I mean, I got out there. I got out by the skin of my teeth, man. I finished my last performance, and then there was supposed to be one more, but I showed up late, and so they had one of the young artists singing my role there, and so for the amount of time that he was rehearsing, they thought, oh, we should. It's only fair to give him a show,
Mhm.
and it worked out that I would be done one show early, and then he would close. And I said my goodbyes, and I packed up, and I came back here to Chicago, and then by the end of that week,
Mm,
canceled.
mm.
And I'm just kind of looking behind me, going, dodge that bullet, and
Right,
so I mean, it could have been so much worse
right.
financially,
Mhm.
but thank my lucky stars and the Lord above that I'm not hurting as much as I could have been.
Right.
But everything else, I mean, it's I was paying attention to everything, and as soon as work started to go away, I figured out how much time I had and packed up and drove to Canada
Mhm.
with the intent that if my next job in the summer was still going to happen, then okay, I was going to have to come back at a certain time so that I could go to that job, and then that job um, fell through, and so then okay, then I could stay longer in Canada, and then here we are.
Right,
um, and I'm back here partly because you can only be so long in Canada, and I want to be able to go back
right, right.
for Christmas,
Mhm.
and so I had to get out. But I have one more job in Europe in September, and so I have to come home for the work visa and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But I I have been so fortunate that this situation hasn't been worse. Yeah, I lost a chunk of money in the
Mhm.
summer, but it could have been a lot worse than it was, and so I'm I'm doing okay. I drove to Canada instead of flying, so my social interaction with people was
Minimal. Right. Excellent. Yeah.
And you know, and they, oh boy, they weren't happy with me when I went over the border. I don't know if it's that I was driving a fast purple car or that I was trying to cross the border at midnight, so I don't know if I look like a drug dealer or something. Oh, I was there for an hour, and the
You mean
guy,
the Canadians or the Americans?
Canadians,
Oh, okay.
the
Okay.
American, you know, the Americans just want to make sure that you're not bringing anything stupid back into the country. But other
Right.
than that,
Right.
but oof, but I mean, going to Canada was a really really smart thing,
Yeah.
just health wise,
Absolutely.
and you know, and then I mean things like the exchange rate is great in Canada for Americans, so my money went further, and you know, I'm telling Deanna, no, 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 I'm gonna pay for the groceries.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, no, 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 you gotta let me pay. I said, honey,
Mm-hmm.
my dollar stretches further up, and she goes, oh, that's right, okay, but you know, and I didn't really spend any money.
Uh-huh.
You know, it cost me 2 tanks of gas to get to Canada.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah,
things
that's
could have been
smart.
a whole
Right.
lot worse, you know, and so knock on
Knock on wood.
wood.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I you know I I'm so concerned, and I feel so terribly for all of my colleagues who are having a worse time off. I mean, being here in Chicago, and all the workers at Lyric Opera who are
Right.
scrambling.
Right.
You
Right.
know, all of our colleagues and all of the people we know at all the companies where we sing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gross because, you know, for the people who don't know, I mean, we have 2 strikes against us.
Right.
A whole bunch of people have to get together in an enclosed space,
Mm-hmm.
and a ton of them are above 55.
Mm-hmm.
So one more strike and we're out.
Right.
But then again, we already are out for almost 6 months. So
Right. Well, I'm throwing a new question that I wasn't on the list. I'm just
no problem.
as far, I don't want to name any opera companies, but companies who are proposing to open in the spring. Do you think that's going to happen, in your personal opinion?
That's it's hard. It's hard to predict because on the one hand, I'm not that confident
Mm,
in my own country because I've seen too many people in the last 5.5 months
mm-hmm,
who don't want to be responsible enough to think about others besides themselves.
mm-hmm,
You know, I've seen all the big parties,
mm-hmm.
you know, recently rock concerts,
Right,
um, you know, the big motorcycle crews and
right. Festival.
Burgess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, schools reopening after everybody's going, no, no, no. You're gonna expect little babies to not, you know, like somebody was saying, they're gonna lick their hands and chase their friends and go, COVID, COVID, COVID. You're gonna expect that they know how to keep to themselves? No.
Right,
But you've seen all these people who in the middle of a pandemic
right.
disregard it.
Yeah.
And you know, and we're the ones suffering because we're staying safe, we're staying at home, we're staying away from people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're doing our best to keep others around us safe besides just ourselves.
Right.
And you have all these other people who just, you know, run off with it. And so I can't make a confident enough judgment because I'm not confident enough in enough people.
Right. Right.
I mean, I was so happy to see in Canada the ways that people were behaving. You know, I mean, sure, I mean, you got knuckleheads everywhere, but on the whole, that people seem to be attentive and aware.
Mhm.
And when I came back, my neighborhood, 15, 20 minutes north of downtown Chicago,
Mhm.
and you could count everybody who wasn't wearing a mask on one hand.
Mhm.
At the
Mhm.
grocery stores, on the street, even. It's like,
Mhm.
wow, masks,
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
And so this is encouraging to me, but there's so many people who, for whatever reason, just don't get it. And I hope that they don't get it, i.e., the virus. But I mean, we've never been in a situation like this before, and so I understand that you might not understand, you might not know what to do,
Right.
but your leaders are telling you what to do, the ones who actually have a clue, but they're telling you exactly what you need to do. It's not brain surgery,
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
and they've made it as simple as possible. Boy,
I'm trying not to go in that direction
I'm
because
sorry. I'm
no, no,
sorry.
no, not
No,
you.
no, no.
Me. I'm trying not to go in
No, I
that
know.
direction
No, I no, I
myself.
no, but I know.
I have
But I
my
mean,
own opinions about it, but I'm gonna
yes,
leave.
ma'am.
I'm
I'm
gonna
sure.
leave that off the.
Right. When
Okay.
when when you can turn off the record button, and then I'll let you rant all you want.
Right.
No, it's
Okay.
just it's a crazy time, and
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and I'm so blown away by all the people who don't seem to take it seriously, and why. And I ask why.
Right.
Why?
It's a
Yeah,
simple answer, but for as far as I'm concerned, it's an ignorant answer.
yeah. Well, and I'm sure I would agree anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of being in Canada and
Yes,
quarantined,
ma'am.
has being quarantined revealed anything about yourself that you never realized before?
Not really.
No.
Um, I mean, I'm a slob at home, but but
Uh-huh.
um, having but living in somebody else's place, or
Mm-hmm.
living in a place that I'm not so comfortable in, not comfortable, but the
Not
difference
familiar.
between my place
Mm-hmm.
and a rental while I'm working, or Deanna's house,
Mm-hmm.
that I feel way more self-conscious and way more needing to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I the problem is that my apartment is cluttered, and it's been a lot better in the 3 years since Deanna was first here,
Right.
but her place is much nicer, and I could only take what I could take with me when I went.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm a slob, but it's easier to behave when you're not at home. But
Right.
that's pretty much it. Like I was saying earlier, I was happier that it didn't seem like after, maybe after a couple months, that I was still okay. I still felt normal. I didn't feel like the things that I was missing about normal life weren't really getting to me as much as they had been with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe the answer is that I'm happy that I've discovered that even in a crazy time like this, that I'm doing all right.
Good.
That that I'm honest enough with myself that if I need to make some kind of change, that I can recognize it and I can change.
Mm-hmm.
That if I have to make a change to my routine, or I'm being too much of a slob, I need to get out and sweat or exercise or something, that I can do that. But that I'm happy that this situation hasn't affected me as much as it's affected a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And I'm not looking forward to more of this, but to know that I can, that I
Enjoy.
know. Yes, ma'am. exactly.
You can endure it, knowing that you can endure it.
Yes. Well, and so, that I'm proud, that I'm kind of going.
You can do another 4 or 5 months.
I don't know yet about that, but I start thinking about things like, wow, this would have been the time to like rough it and go find a cabin somewhere and chop a bunch of wood,
Mm,
and grow some stuff and
true.
make a fire and learn how to go shoot a gun. I'd just be out, and just learn about myself.
Oh, well, I mean, you can do that at home too.
Well, you're right. I mean,
I think a
people
lot of
have been
folks,
learning about themselves in the last 5.5 months.
right?
Whew.
Right. Which is a great segue because I wanted to ask you, has being with Miss Diana Pauletto, has that tested your relationship being in quarantine like that?
No, thankfully. Okay, well, maybe not tested,
Hmm.
but it's no, no. I mean, sure, it's tested our relationship, but that we are solid enough in our relationship that this time has in general been a good time for us. I mean, one of the things I immediately said towards the end when I was going to have to leave was, honey, I don't know when I'll ever get to spend 4 months straight with you ever again. Straight.
It's true.
I mean, I would hope for it or more,
Right.
but yeah, this ain't ever gonna happen ever again.
Well, and hey, this is great because this is segueing into the next question. This is great. I love this. This is going
No,
fantastic.
she's been really wonderful. She's, we both had the experience of being married already,
Mhm.
and and if she didn't help me
Mhm.
to do so, we we both recognized that it was so important to learn from our pasts and to make sure that we made all the changes that we needed to for the upcoming future with someone,
Mhm.
that you remember all the things about your past and apply them to the future. And there were times that she got really antsy because she's one of those who is used to the regular interaction of her work week.
Mhm.
The regular interact, and it was great that it worked out that she could still be in decent contact with her best friends. She's got a whole bunch of friends that she's known since elementary school,
Mhm.
and they've all kept in touch, and so she got to see them a few times. Um, she has a group of really close friends besides her family, and we got to see them the 4 months that I was there. um, but she is affected by this situation, and so I got to learn that about her. But the great thing is, and I don't, the way we talk about this all the time, that we don't ever want to jinx it, but everything has worked out so well for us,
Mhm.
that the moments when we disagreed were just that, were just disagreements.
Right. Right.
We never got in big fights. We never got in big arguments. I mean, we understood what we had. So when we ever came to any one of those points, or came to a situation where we didn't agree or we weren't happy, we understood how important it was to keep the communication going and continue to be present with one another.
Right.
And I mean, before this, it had been the 3 straight months, um, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And that was a nice test, but it was the same thing. We didn't know it. We know each other now, obviously, just because of the added time. But 3 months went pretty well, and then, but it was still everyday life. I would go to rehearsals.
Mhm.
She would stay home. She would take walks. She would go do some shopping. We would go do something on weekends, whatever it was. We'd go out at night. But the past 4 months, just being stuck up at home, and we've done pretty well. She she I guess her only flaw is that she's the type of person who cares about everybody else first.
Uh-huh.
And so she worries about everybody else first before herself, and then at the end of the day she feels like she hasn't lived up to the expectations, or she hasn't done right by people, and I have to verbally slap her in the face and say, would you just shut up?
Yeah.
You have to realize that you're this person, and you're if you can even call it a flaw, that this is your one flaw. Do you understand
Right.
that you beat yourself up because you're worried about everybody else first?
Right.
It's the experience that I always expect, well, not expected, but hoped that I would have had.
Mhm.
We should have been married for 11 days now,
Oh. Oh.
but well, and then this all happened, and so we gave ourselves a deadline as to whether or not it was going to go through, and then by that deadline we said okay, and she went and she contacted all the people that she'd reached out to for the venue and the
Right.
reception and the blah 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 and all these kinds of things, and thankfully everything, everyone was more than happy to just postpone for a year.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Everyone.
Wow.
We'd arranged housing for her immediate family and her a couple of my friends from here, and a couple of her one of her best friends, and a cousin, so just so that they're all together and they don't have to find a place to stay,
Right.
and all of that. I was worried about the Airbnbs, because there's a huge mess in Hawaii with vacation rentals.
Hmm.
But all of that, both of those properties were happy to postpone a year, so we're good
Oh, good. All right. So this time next year.
this time
That's
next
like
year.
wonderful. I hope you give me the exclusive on that.
The exclusive being, I'm not going to sing because I've sung enough for people's weddings,
Oh, absolutely. I would expect you to. Why would you sing
and
at your own wedding?
no, Deanna, you're going to sing. No, 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 you're going to sing. No, I sing all the time. You're going to sing this time, and I'm not, I'm not trying to be you know, chauvinistic at all, but I do it all the time. Let everybody hear you sing for once.
Nice. Okay, so let's lighten. Well, let's lighten the subject up a little bit.
No worries.
Okay, so knowing what you know about the life of an opera singer, would you do it all over again?
Of course,
Yeah.
because in my humble opinion, being an opera singer, being a performing artist, period,
Hmm.
it requires so much more than just the ability.
Mm,
That you have to have the nerve.
this is
You
true.
you have to have the nerve to be able to stand being on the road, to stand dealing with personalities that you don't want to have to deal with,
Mm,
um, dealing with situations that you don't want to be in, but knowing that if you stomach this, that once you get past it, yeah, sure, you'll be the better for it, but then hopefully it leads to the next situation,
right.
that you gotta be nuts enough to handle it. No, I mean,
It's
in the
true.
best way possible.
It's true. No, no, no. You're absolutely right. It's a
When
great
when
experience.
everybody else is standing at the edge, at the edge of the pool deck, you know, you're the one blazing past them and jumping as far out into the middle of the pool as you can.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
you're the one screaming at the top of your lungs while you dive in, while everybody else is just standing there. You know, when the drill sergeant says, you know, I want to volunteer, you're like halfway up his nose already, while everybody else is still standing in line.
Right. Right. It's crazy. No, you're absolutely right. It's a crazy career. You have to
It
be crazy
is.
on it.
And so I know enough about myself
Mhm.
that I know that I have the nerve.
Okay.
And it's not something that I've always had. I didn't have it as I don't recognize that I had it as a young child, but that I've definitely built it along the way. That I have to credit my mother. My mother's the classically trained one in the family.
Mm. Okay.
Um, but she's one of those, like many of us, who had to find find it all on her own, find the love of classical music and singing all on her own, because nobody else in her family
Mm.
was musically or artistically inclined.
Mhm.
But um, so I have to credit her with where my sister and I get most of our ability, and then from our father, I mean, he's a very natural talent.
Mhm.
So he never studied, but he was just, you know, he not a full on opera singer. He sang in the we all sang in the opera chorus at one point, but that, you know, he could just conform, and he could adapt.
Mhm.
So, you know, he he was a rock singer in high school. He was a folk singer in college. He took over my job as a church soloist in Hawaii when I moved to Chicago.
Mhm.
And so I get the nerve from him, you know. And so my sister and I have the full package from mom and dad. And I know that if I had to do it all over again, I could. You know, I mean, sure, there would be little things that I would change, but on the whole, knowing what I know,
Mhm.
I would definitely do it again, because
Okay.
there are only certain people who can, you know, what do they say, of all the singers who study in college and do young artist programs and things, like only 4% of us make it.
Yes.
4%. Whew. And I know that I have the guts to take up one of that 4%,
All right. All right. That's what I'm talking about.
because nobody can do it as good as me.
Hey. All right. Hey, I can't even speak on that. I'm just gonna leave that right.
I'm sure you could.
No, 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 no. I love that's a great attitude. Absolutely, absolutely. Why wouldn't you think that way?
I mean, it's a little cocky, but it just
It's not
it
cocky. It's confidence.
it helps.
You
I
have
I
to
am
have confidence in yourself in this business.
I am proud. I am proud of that. I don't always know where it came from, but I do recognize that it at one point it was there, and it never failed me.
All right. Well, again, this leads into another good question.
I'm just like laying all these out for
You
you,
just
man.
you just laying it all out for me here. Okay, what aria or song from any genre of music would you use to describe your personality or your life?
You know what? Um, Music to me, I'll and the easiest way to characterize it is my iPod.
Okay.
You can find almost any genre except country and western on my I just
No Dolly, no Dolly Parton.
I mean, so I don't have it on my iPod,
Uh-huh.
but in that respect, anything classic
Right.
is much more doable for me.
Right. Gotcha.
You know, I'm old school that way. You know, when in doubt, going the old school route.
Mhm.
I can connect and I can relate.
Right.
But you can pretty much find anything in my iPod.
Right. But what song? What song would you
So
say?
the problem is that
Everything.
well, because my life is not cannot so easily be defined in one song or
Gotcha.
one aria. So
Okay.
instead, my my eclectic taste in music uh, better defines me because music to me is a mood.
Mm,
So depending how I feel, that's the kind of music that envision that I build in my head.
okay.
So depending how I feel, that's the kind of music that I listen to, and so that's who I am. That it's so many different genres of music that make me up because I never could have properly predicted that I would be here,
Mm.
42 years old, a working opera well, normally working opera singer, but at this stage in my career that I'm at, I never could have seen this in a million years.
Hmm.
I knew that my mother was a classical singer. I knew that's what she loved. I knew that's what she was meant to do. And then as I grew up, I knew along the way that I grew um, a very large appreciation for classical music and singing. But I never could have foreseen my sister when she was like in her early teens was the one saying, I want to sing this, I want to sing this, I want to sing this, I want to sing it, I want to sing these places.
Hmm.
And I kind of went, oh wow, okay, yeah. No, and I recognized it all, but I I couldn't have said back then, what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
I know now, and I fully embrace it, but I wanted to be a fighter pilot in my middle teens. I I loved 50s doo-wop when I was a little kid because of my favorite uncle. Um, I've always loved I've always loved different types of rock, thanks to my father. Um, I love just sitting and listening to instrumental classical music.
Hmm.
My heritage is a whole other genre of music.
Right. Right.
Because of my relationship with Deanna, I have this whole brand new uh, inclusion of Italian popular music and Neapolitan songs and things like that.
Hmm.
I mean, my iPod is me, like, everybody making gold pendants of credit cards and all these things that all these symbols of them. Yeah, I would have a little gold iPod,
Okay.
because it's the best way to define me. That I all these different types of music appeal to me so strongly, that they are so much a part of me that I can't think of one specific song or aria that would define me completely enough.
I think that's true of most singers, of most musicians. It's
Sure.
yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, I mean, you know singers out there who are just 24/7 opera or 24/7 Beatles or whatever it is, that there's just one thing that that's their go-to all the time. And it just depends on the day of the week for me, you know?
All right. So next question. Do you have any experiences on your bucket list? Notice I didn't say roles. I'm not thinking no, experience.
You got
Experience.
you got to make this harder. Damn it.
I don't do the typical asking questions,
No, that's good.
know.
Um, I don't have I don't have a necessary fear of heights per se, but
Ah.
there's a part of me that knows that I got to jump out of an airplane sometime in my life.
Really?
Well, because you know, I I've tried roller coasters.
Uh-huh.
You know, both Deanna and my ex-wife
Hmm.
love roller coasters, and so I've tried.
It's not enough
I've
height.
tried.
Oh,
No,
they're
no,
too high. Oh,
it's
you
not
have a
about
fear of
it's
height.
not about the height at all.
Uh-huh.
It's I love to go fast.
Ah.
I have two muscle cars. I
Mm-hmm.
love to go fast, but I think the difference is that I got to be in control,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's the lack of control that drives me nuts.
Oh,
And
yeah, jumping from a plane, you have no control.
well, exactly, right?
Yeah, none.
Like bye bye control. Here we go.
Unless you're going by yourself, you get to pull the rings. But unless you're doing a tandem, I'm assuming tandem.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Uh,
There's well, I mean, nobody would let me go by myself the first time. So, but
mhm.
yeah, that's something just off the wall like that's got to happen, you know.
Okay, all right. That's the typical guy thing. I think guys want to jump out of it. It's the exhilaration, maybe the
Or it just that that
lack of control.
it's lack of control. It's a recurring, not a fear, but it's a recurring thing that it's like a fear that feel like I need to conquer
Okay, okay,
because otherwise I'm good, you know.
okay.
Yes.
All right, let's get to the vices.
Uh-oh.
What are yours? What are your vices?
Thankfully, I don't have the the resources or the space. Otherwise, I would have a warehouse full of cars.
Okay.
My
I've
favorite
seen
uncle
your
growing up.
Instagram. I've seen your Instagram account. Cars, like cars for days.
Yes, ma'am. My favorite uncle, you know, he gave me doo-wop music.
Hmm.
He got me interested in visual art because you know he was my favorite uncle growing up, and so you want to emulate them completely.
Hmm.
And he had you know it wasn't a super loud fast car, but it was the fact that he loved his car
Hmm.
as much as he did. You know, he had the rags that he would use to wipe it down. You know, when he come home and it's all wet.
Hmm.
You know, there's a specific kind of rag that he would use because it takes all the water off so that the water doesn't dry and make spots.
Hmm.
And these rags were just busted. I mean, they were rags. I mean, whole and just you know falling apart.
Hmm.
But he kept them because it was that perfect kind of material for wiping down the car. And I always, you know, you'd always see them hanging up on the clothesline in the garage. And it wasn't so much what the car was. It was just that he gave it so much attention.
Mm.
And sure, in Hawaii, people have nice cars, but there's only so far you can go. And then when I came to Chicago, oh baby, um, yeah, I would. You know, I can go to car shows for hours and just walk around
Hmm.
and never have enough time to see everything.
Right.
Yeah, I would. You know, or this is one of the beautiful things about the pandemic is having to sit indoors and watch a lot of TV. And there's there's a uh, an app now that has all of the car shows that I've
Oh,
watched and loved.
right, right,
So I'm just you know I'm just like, what am I binging today?
right.
But recently it's been these full on car restoration shops that it's like putting together a puzzle,
Hmm.
but you can make the pieces fit perfectly.
Hmm.
You know, you don't have to search for where's the right. I need this. Okay,
Hmm.
and it just. I mean, if something happened tomorrow and our business just kind of fell apart,
Uh-huh.
I would go find a resto shop, and I would just be like, somebody teach me, because, teach me how to use a welder, teach me how to take this apart and put it back together, teach me on what all this is, because I would get greasy and dirty and climb underneath a car.
Well, that's a second career to think about.
It's either that or construction, because both Deanna's father is a retired foreman. Deanna's brothers are both in construction. They don't go and sweat and get dirty and dusty, but it's something, I can lift lumber, I can pour concrete, all that kind of stuff. I can drive nails, I can use a screwdriver.
Okay. All right.
I'm not wishing ill on our business at all, but like I know that I would have something to do.
If it all falls under you, you're prepared.
But yes, fast cars, fast, pretty cars.
That's your advice, fast cars.
Yeah.
Got it. And the last question. Who is your celebrity crush?
I
don't want to get you in trouble.
No, never.
Get you in trouble with the fiance is what I'm saying.
No, I know.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. Oh, you know what it was? Somebody out of the blue just asked me this like yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And I will be the first to admit that I'm a fully functioning man who appreciates women.
Okay.
So this is a difficult question.
Okay.
Because and Deanna loves to find this spot right on my forehead. Because there's so much real estate there, and she's so happy that she's found this one spot that when she hits it in the right way, it just makes that perfect little sound, and she feels so good about demeaning me in that way, and so I know there will be proverbial, forehead smacking.
Okay.
They're classic movie stars. I guess it's just movie stars, because I've never really. That's always been the easiest one, because I've always liked watching movies. So yeah, it's hard to pick, but I guess the one that I can always easily come back to is Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean,
oh, that's old school. That's going
well the 80s, that 80s look. I mean, there was that 80s look.
Right.
And then there was the classic, eyeshadow, red lipstick, big hair 80s
shoulder
look.
pads, yeah.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, because I grew up in the 80s.
Oh, I know that movie very well.
Yeah. God, Robert Downey Jr. as a baby. And I forgot about that for years. And then the first time I watched it again, I was like, oh, right. Whoa. And Bill Paxton.
Yes.
Jeb.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Hall.
Very funny.
Oh.
So Kelly LeBrock. That's just
Kelly LeBrock.
Okay.
I mean, like the little brunette kid says, dream woman, Yeah. I mean, every little twerp's dream to be able to build a woman, and then it's Kelly LeBrock, and you're like, okay.
And she's alive, right?
She's alive. And she, anywhere you go with her, and she turns you into the the star of the show. I mean,
right.
No, I don't want that. No, it was that classic 80s style. I mean there have been beautiful women throughout time, but because that's the era where I grew up. And she had that quintessential 80s style.
Yeah.
So
Kelly, if you thought 80s, Kelly LeBrock was it.
Yeah.
I could see that. All
Yeah.
right. Well, sir, thank you so much
Oh,
for
please, it's my
spending
pleasure. I've
time
been,
with me and
well, when the
answering
first
my
time you asked,
crazy questions.
no, never, no, no, it's good. You know, it's like, you know, because a lot, you know, what we do is getting out in front of people
Hmm.
and you know, being able to hold people's attention and you know, so it's also about doing interviews and putting yourself out there. It's I think it's part of our responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, but
So
I'm like I hate the typical questions. I've been watching all the interviews and stuff, and anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
no, and
But
that's and that's and that's
I
great.
want to find out the essence of my artists. We know what they can do. We've seen what they can do. We know they can sing and sing very well. But I want to know who they are. That's my
Oof,
they are as people.
I talk too much.
No, not
Oh,
at all.
I do. I do. My dad and I, we love to tell stories. Oh my God.
Oh, hey, if you have any stories you want to continue, we can keep this going. If you want to
No, no,
tell
you
some
know,
stories,
you're
I'm
not
going
helping
to
me.
listen. I love getting the exclusive. You know me.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
no, that would be off the record. You know, I would never do
Of course, I'm not worried.
that. All right. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'm very, very grateful. I'm so happy you were able to do it.
Oh no, it was my pleasure. It's great to see you again.
You,
Y'all got to see this. You got to see this woman's glasses.
these are my readers.
Oh, you won't be able to see these glasses because it's only going to be audio. But let me tell you, the glasses, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm glad you like them. Yeah, I'm going with a look. These are my
No, 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 because
my
you
diva
know,
readers.
no, but they're you know, you gotta do your homework. You gotta make sure that the glasses look good because
Oh,
there are tons of people, and they think the glasses look cool, and you're kind of like, um,